Hello everyone, welcome back to another weekly update on the Data-Driven Gaming project. If you're new here, this is where I break down all the work happening behind the scenes to create an accurate dataset for research and AI training projects. First up, data. So this week's been an intense week of data cleansing. Firm believer that what you put in is what you get out, so it's a very important process. I actually quite enjoy it, which is probably not what most people feel. Making sure that the data is accurate before it enters into the final data set. The tool I use for this process is Google Sheets. I spent many years in Excel spreadsheets, so I feel very comfortable working within Google Sheets. So in this section, I wanted to talk about some of the tools that I'm using. So I use Open Web UI with Llama, and the model that I'm using the most is Gemma 2, which is from Google, and I'm using the 9.2b model. I find this very useful because it's a large language model, very useful for resolving problems or discussing problems with the large language model. I like it because it's available at any time. I prefer it to ChatGPT, obviously there's privacy concerns, and I also find with ChatGPT that it kind of gets bored. So it's hit and miss. Some days it's really good, and other days it seems very lazy in its responses. So with regards to SQL, made some changes. I've introduced a metadata table, which is now table 2. This will keep all the metadata, and the plan is to expand this out further. So cycle 1 is to capture all the games, and then developer and publisher, title in kanji, etc., and all the relationships, parent-child. And then cycle 2 would collate like number of players, so you can identify a single player game, multiplayer game, and then we can look at the historic transition and how that's evolved to online play as well. Title in kanji is particularly interesting because when I look at current databases available, they really seem to mix this up at times. So there's either a title that's in kanji alone, but once it becomes either romanized or translated, I've seen instances where the romanized is mixed with translation as well. So that's one area that I think particularly needs to be cleansed and resolved to avoid future confusion. I've also introduced a CTE title table. This is to avoid duplicate data. I think this is quite important for titles. This I'm using region as well, so that the user will be able to see the title and which regions that title is available in. So it's not the game, it's the title that I'm focusing on. With regards to the website, so I've changed the header. I've been working a lot on the header this week, and particularly in search functionality as well. So I've got my logo, which I'm quite excited about, which acts as a homepage button. I've also introduced a hamburger menu. At the moment it's rather crude, but it's the start of what that will look like. So this will eventually take users to genre platforms, for example. And then it's readily available because being in the header, obviously it's going to be at the top of every page. With regards to the search box, I've got a drop down at the beginning. So from here you can decide what you want to search for. So you don't have to go to different areas. I'm trying to make navigation as fluid and as simple as possible because obviously the data set's quite large. So I want it so that users are not having to click through not thousands, that's an exaggeration, but through lots and lots of different options to get to the data that they want. So I'm trying to make it maybe 1, 2 or 3 clicks, no more, away from getting to the data that they would like. At the moment, you can see I've got games, platforms, developer and publisher, and obviously eventually there'll be genre and series as well. The search box works on a 10 limit, so it's a limit of 10 results. So it's not to contain a lot of information, but if you search for Lemmings, for example, you can see you got Lemmings and Lemmings 2. I will work on the platforms it's available on. I quite like it being a number, really, so number of platforms available, and then that would take you through to there. That doesn't work at the moment. I need to fix that, obviously, but that will eventually take you through to the search results. And then you can then also, if you search for Lemmings and click search, you get a search result page there as well, which is very bare bones at the moment. With regards to the alpha page, so here we have the regions across the top. The user will initially be presented with all regions and all alphas, and then they can filter by a region. So if I only want to see the US releases, here you'll see where I'm using the region title. So for example, 1001 Spikes is available in the USA, EU and Japan as the title of 1001 Spikes, assuming the Japanese title has been translated to English. If they wanted to filter down, change the region, then they can keep changing the region as well. And then if they want to look for other, so this is all the games that are released in Japan for the Wii U. And then if they wanted to look at the EU and US, you can see how it's changing, so they don't have to keep picking other each time. And that's a wrap for this week's updates. The project's moving fast and I can't wait to share even more improvements next week. If you're enjoying these updates, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out. And if you have any thoughts or feedback or just want to chat about retro gaming, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you, and see you next week.